Hey everyone, and welcome to the first installment of the Crash-A-Thon. In just 3 months, we will be playing the first brand new Crash Bandicoot game in over a decade. It's been so long. So long. So, to keep my mind at bay and to stop me from going insane, I'm going to be marathoning each mainline console Crash Bandicoot game, and, well, where better place to start than at the beginning? The year was 19-something or other, and two game developers by the names of Andy Gavin and Jason Rubin had founded Naughty Dog, a company at the time best known for games like this, who were looking to create a new mascot platformer for the newly released Sony PlayStation. The fruit of their labours came to be in 1996 with the release of Crash Bandicoot, setting in motion a franchise that would go on to be one of the most popular platformer series of all time. The game follows a very simple plotline. In the Australian outback, evil scientist Dr. Neo Cortex is genetically mutating the wildlife to create an army to take over the world. A Bandicoot called Crash is intended to be the general of his army, though when the experiment goes tits up, Crash gains superhuman abilities but isn't turned evil and manages to escape, though Cortex still has his girlfriend Torna in captivity. So now, along with the help of the witch doctor mask Aku Aku, Crash must traverse the 3 islands to reach Torna, defeat Cortex, and live happily ever after, I guess. And, you know, probably settle down, start a family, get a mortgage to buy a house and hope that they can pay it off before they die. Awesome stuff, you know? And that simplicity carries over to the gameplay of Crash as well. You see, the design idea behind Crash's gameplay was to take the style of traditional side-scrolling platformers we all know and love and flip the camera behind the character and into a 3D setting. With the camera staring at the characters behind, it earned itself the infamous development nickname of the Sonic's Arse game. I mean, it all makes sense really. The whole success of this franchise is built upon the concept of staring right into Sonic's rectal abyss. But true to its conception, that was the basis of Crash's gameplay, but with its own unique quirks. Simple point A to point B corridor platforming, spinning away enemies, jumping over and avoiding obstacles, breaking crates, collecting Wumpa Fruit, collecting 100 of which would give you an extra life, the Aku Aku masks that protect you from being hurt, collecting 3 of which will give you brief invincibility, breaking all the crates to receive a gem, the alternate gem route, the occasional boss fight, chase sequence, and vehicle level. Crash, buddy, I really think you should consider the ethics of what you're about to do there. But with all these elements together, it's set in stone, the core Crash gameplay we all know and love. And there you have it, in its simplest form, the humble beginnings of a wonderful franchise. I simply love it. Oh, God. Oh, God, someone's about to get their fucking kneecaps broken! Well, I never said it was perfect. Now look, of course being the first game in the series, it's understandable that they may not get everything to a T the first time round. While the first Crash Bandicoot is a great game, I do have to admit, it has dated quite a lot. Keep in mind that I experienced the original trilogy games out of order. My first was Crash 2, then Crash 3, then Crash 1. As you can imagine, coming off the more refined sequels into the more bare-bones original, it's quite jarring. This is a more stripped down and basic game compared to what came after it. Crash's moveset is limited to just moving, jumping and spinning, and the level design is much more compact and dense than is normally perceived for Crash. In terms of how he controls, Crash is a bit stiff. It's not too detrimental, but it's noticeable. However, where the controls and kind of by extension the gameplay fall flat on its arse is with the jumping. You see, on top of being a bit stiff, Crash 1 Crash is also a clumpy fuck. He feels very dopey and ploddy to maneuver while jumping. I think the best way to describe it is that when Crash's feet leave the ground, he feels very heavy, like he has no momentum. But then while in mid-air, he suddenly feels a lot lighter, but then comes back down with a heavy pull. So you go from having little to no momentum to suddenly a ton of thrust, then back to being dragged down within the same jump arc. And this one aspect on its own single-handedly makes the platforming so much more of a struggle than it should be. And in a platforming game, you know, that's kinda an issue. Especially when the game's level design is a lot more compact and is very precise and strict with its platforming. So much so that sometimes even getting from point A to point B in certain levels feels like an uphill battle. As a result of these elements, it has given Crash 1 a reputation for being a very difficult game. But oh dear god, the grueling punishment does not stop there. You see, while you can just go through each level of the game and get to the end, you can go for the 100% goal of acquiring all the gems. Now, in order to get any level's gem, you have to break every single crate in that level and get from beginning to end without dying a single time. If you don't break every single crate, you simply get this patronizing message saying, yeah, you did great, but you missed all these boxes, you twat. But on the other hand, if you do get all of them but you die, you just get booted back to the level map with no gem. And as you can imagine, due to finicky platforming and tricky level design, trying not to die isn't exactly a fun time and makes for such a rage-inducing experience. And to be honest, all you get for getting all the gems is an alternate ending and the option of not having to fight the final boss, which is in no way worth it at all considering the fucking anguish you have to go through to achieve it. So, did I go through and get all the gems in this playthrough I did for this video? No, because I'm not a fucking masochist. Oh well, at least it can't get any more frustrating than that. Oh no, wait, it does. Then we go on to the simple aspect of saving your progress in the game. Again, for some reason, made so much more bafflingly complicated than it needs to be. The only two ways you can save your game is by 1. Acquiring a gem, which as we just established is an annoyance within itself, or 2. Completing a Tawna bonus round. Now the bonus rounds are a Crash staple. In this game you access them by collecting 3 of a certain character's face, either Tawna, Embryo or Cortex. There's only 2 Cortex rounds in the game, and they reward you with keys to extra levels. Brio bonus rounds are completely useless since they give you jack diddly fuck all, and the Tawna rounds allow you to save your game at the end of it. However, you only get 1 shot in these bonus stages per try of the level, so if you fuck it up and die, then you lose the chance to save. Which just begs the question, why the hell would you do it like this? I mean, they also provide a password system, but even then, that just complicates things more. All these negative aspects of the game are so much more apparent having played the Insane Trilogy remake of Crash 1, which is vastly superior in my opinion. With so much better controls, a proper save system, letting you retry the bonus rounds however many times you want, and making it so that you could die and still collect a gem on a level, except for the levels in which you collect coloured gems. Seriously, if anyone wants to criticise the Insane Trilogy for being too hard, like it's the Dark Souls of platformers, then I implore them to try the original PS1 version. It is fucking brutal. And it's a shame that these negative aspects kind of taint the original experience because there is still a lot to like about the original Crash Bandicoot. Despite the finicky platforming and controls, the level design is still good and really varied. With of course the previously mentioned boulder chase levels, the hog ride levels, levels in the dark, both side-on and behind the camera perspectives, along with those really satisfying elements of Crash we all love, like the crunch of bouncing on and breaking the crate and the fun of spinning away enemies into the distance with that ricochet sound. Oh, that's the good shit right there. The gameplay is still really enjoyable, and to top it off, the game's brilliant presentation adds so much to the experience. For 1996, this game is seriously impressive. The visuals are top notch for the time and offer so much detail and life in these environments. From the luscious jungle foliage, the metallic pollutant vibe at the factories, and Cortex on this screen staring at me like a perverted uncle on Zoom. And the environmental variety here really allows for a sense of a journey as you go from one island to the other. Seeing the castle in the background as you get closer, going from natural jungles and tribal villages to dark abandoned paths and caves to the grim industrial factories and dark eerie castle. The atmosphere just oozes here when the visuals are combined with such a great soundtrack. Composed by Joshua Mansell, the soundtrack provides a rich mood and tone for each level while providing that really quirky nature of the game as well. And that's the one thing I really think sets Crash apart, its sheer character and personality. That very very old school, cartoony and zany tone with that quirky clash of sci-fi and nature, which I think is very fitting since the developer's intention was to have something along the lines of a playable Warner Brothers cartoon character. And of course the memorable cast of characters the game has, with not only the charming and expressive Crash, but Cortex and all his minions that you encounter along the way and have to fight against as the game's bosses. Firstly, you have Papu Papu, one of the biggest jokes of a boss fight ever. Ripperoo, who as a character is really cool, but as a boss is rather, well... tedious and dull. Koala Kong is an okay fight, a tad bit on the easy side, but okay I guess. Pinstripe, while a cool boss concept, really just boils down to you waiting behind a chair until his gun jams or he crosses the room allowing you to hit him, rinse and repeat. Nitrous Brio is probably my favourite boss in the game, not only because of the setting but how the fight requires you to be coordinated with multiple quick moving and varied attacks, but also has a bit of variety in the attacks and the phases, like when Brio goes apeshit and turns into a man who clearly skipped leg day. Finally, it all culminates in the final boss against Cortex. A decent boss, nothing too challenging, but a satisfying one to end on. You defeat him, knock him off, and you and Torna stand a bit precariously on this blimp while ignoring the blazing inferno behind you. Happy days. The original Crash Bandicoot may not be perfect, but it's the humble beginnings for the franchise, and hey, I'm not gonna hold it against Naughty Dog for not getting it flawless the first time round. And despite a lot of aggravating mechanics and frustrating aspects of gameplay, it's still a damn decent game, warts and all. And I think its best elements really show when playing the Insane Trilogy remake. Seriously, if you want to try Crash 1, I implore you to try this version over the original any day. Yes, it may be dated and rage-inducing, but it's the game that set the foundation for bigger and better things to come in the future, and believe me, we'll be getting onto that soon enough. And so that concludes the first part of this marathon. I hope you vaguely enjoyed it in some form or another. And as always guys, thank you all so much for watching, and feel free to like and subscribe if you feel like it, and I'll see you all in the next video. I've still got 8 more games to get through. I didn't need sleep anyway.